it's Iain from RTO here. Welcome to another album ranking, and we're continuing with the story of German guitarist Michael Schenker. Now, this is part 7, and this is a band that he put together. It's a bit of a supergroup called the Temple and Rock. It was formed round about 2011-ish. There's not much information, but it included two ex-members of the Scorpions, Herman Rebel, or Rebel, who's the drummer, and Francis Buckles, who's the bass player. He was there's been quite a few people that have come through this band. It's one of them cases again where Michael, whoever's around to record with him. They made 3 albums, and to be quite honest, they're all very good. I just discovered these by pure accident a few years ago, and I just love them. It's just good old-fashioned heavy metal rock, and if you love that, you're going to love these. So let's have a look at the 3 albums that Temple of Rock made. So coming in at number 3 is their second album, and it's called Bridge the Gap, and it came out in 2013. Playing on here with Michael, you've got Doogie White, who's sang with Rainbow, he sang in MSG, and Iain Manstein, he sang with him as well. Francis Buckles on the bass guitar, Herman Rebel on the drums, and Wayne Findlay. Now Wayne Findlay has been around Michael's music for a little while, appears on some of the MSG albums, and he plays guitars and keyboards. So it opens up with this thing called Neptune Rising. It's one of them little intros, and without knowing what it is, if you heard this, you'd go, Michael Schenker. It's that distinctive. Really good. And that goes straight into the proper first track, where the wild winds blow. Absolutely brilliant. And driving, roaming, sort of thundering Michael Schenker riffs. Some great vocals from Doogie White. I think Doogie White is a great singer. He's got a voice that's suited to the heavy metal genre. Really good, strong tracks. Then we have a track called Horizons. One of my favourites on here. It's got the fantastic drumming of Herman. I loved it when he was in the Scorpions. I consider him, I think he is the best drummer that the Scorpions ever had. Along with Mr. Buckles on the bass. The engine room. And it works here. It is working to its former glories. Absolutely brilliant track. Lord of the Lost and Lonely. Some great guitar licks and Michael. Oh. And of course, Francis is absolutely booming out a bass line that's just brilliant. Rock and Roll Symphony. This is ex-Scorpions engine room, just giving it all. The drumming from Herman's great. Francis, I think these two can read off each other. It's just a superb track. Throw in a few licks from Michael, and you've got a pretty good track. To Live for the King, really good rocking track again. Absolutely killer vocal from Doogie. It's got all them elements you like about listening to anything that Michael Schenker does. Brilliant track. Land of Thunder. Herman's drumming is brilliant. It's got a killer guitar solo from Michael as well. Some nice little keyboard bits thrown in there. It's just one of them things. Temple of the Homely, second favourite track on here. Strong track, strong vocal from Doogie, and I like the sort of interplay between Wayne and Michael here. The keyboard and guitar is once again brilliant. Shine On does what it says on the tin. Nothing wrong with that one. My favourite track on here is Bridges We Have Burned. It's one of the quieter tracks actually. It's very melodic and eerie. It's the best vocal from Doogie. Really good track. Because You Lied, Michael Schenker's guitar work is brilliant. Killer guitar solo. Herman's got a great beat going there. Black Moon Rising, another killer guitar solo from another great track. And the last track, Dance for the Piper, another of these slow melodic tracks. I love this. I love how it speeds up and then slows down. It's got a great guitar solo. This is a great album. There is not a bad track on this, and it's at number 3. So I just love it. It's just full on heavy metal rock and roll. So I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 8 out of 10. Coming in at number 2 is the third album, sorry, the final one from 2015, Spirit on a Mission. It's Michael Doogie, Francis Herman and Wayne again. First track on here is called Live and Let Live. Great opening track again. Full of energy. The bass line from Francis Buckles is just amazing. Throwing some great little licks on the drums from Herman. Throwing a good vocal and some great guitar, and it's a great track. Communion, another of my favourite tracks. I love the grungy riff at the beginning, and there's layers of really solid music on here. Some great guitar work. Just a great track. Vigilante Man comes next. Lots of power riffs in this. Power chords. And it's a typical Francis Buckles bass line that just gels this together. Rock City. Herman's on fire on the drums. Absolutely. Still got it. He's just an incredible drummer. Great vocal from Doogie on this. Saviour Machine, another of my favourite tracks. I love that incredible run down the neck on the guitar from Michael. I just love that with dirty, gritty riffs. Absolutely fantastic track. Something of the Night, that double bass drum from Herman is great. And you've got this lovely deep bass line from Francis. Michael on top form with this as well on the guitar. All Our Yesterdays, typical Michael Schenker sort of rolling guitar riff. We get it in Doctor Doctor, we get it in Lights Out, Only You Can Rock Me. It's still got that rolling feel. I love that track. Bulletproof, again, it's just dominated by the engine room of this band. Francis and Herman doing the business. Killer track, killer track. Let the Devil Scream, sort of church organ from Wayne. In come the dirty riffs from Michael. Great vocal from Doogie, absolutely atmospheric. Good Times, solid track again. It's just and it is one of the best vocals by Doogie on this. Restless Heart, more furious drumming from Herman, rapid fire metal riffs on this. Then my favourite track on this one is actually the last track called Wicked. It's just good old fashioned heavy metal here. There's nothing bad about it. It's just what heavy metal's all about. Great vocal from Doogie, very strong vocals. As I said at the beginning, these albums are very hard and they are very underrated. They should have more love. This is just full of great metal riffs, and some of Herman's fine drumming on here is superb. So I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 8.3. Okay, my number 1 then is the debut album that came out in 2011, and it's just simply called Temple of Rock. Now, this has got lots of people on it who play on separately on the tracks, so I shall just say who does what on each track. So it starts off with an intro speech, narrated by Mr. William Shatner, Captain Kirk himself. Real deep voice, but it's done just like how Captain Kirk used to do Captain's Log. Absolutely brilliant. First track then on here is actually a track called How Long. Now, appearing on here, we have the legendary Mr. Neil Murray on the bass, who I've met What a nice man he is. Another legend on drums, Mr. Simon Phillips. Played with Toto, he's played with Mike Oldfield, of course. On guitars, Mr. Michael Schenker. On vocals, Mr. Michael Voss of Bonfire, which was the band he's really known. He's played in the 20th Century Boys, Beggars Pride and Beggars Jam. Very fine vocalist. The song is great. Real good rocker. Killer guitar solo. Typical Neil Murray bass line. Some great drumming from Simon. Real great opening track to the album. Up next is Fallen Angel. Another lineup. On the bass, the legendary Mr. Pete Way. On the drums, Mr. Herman Rebel. Guitars, Michael Schenker, and vocals, Michael Voss. Great lineup, a bit of a mixture of UFO and Scorpions. It's a good track. It's great to hear Michael and Pete playing together again. Really play off each other well. It's a great track. Michael Voss, great vocal on that. Up next is a track called Hanging On. Okay, apart from Michael Voss, the rest are all ex-Scorpions and UFO. Or one is still in Scorpions, so we may know who it is. On the bass, Pete Way. On the drums, Herman Rebel. On guitars, Michael Schenker. On the keyboards, Mr. Paul Raymond. Rhythm guitar, additional bit, the one and only, the big brother of Mr. Michael Schenker, Rudolf Schenker. And Michael's just there doing the vocals. It's a great track. A great mixture of Scorpions and UFO. Great to see the two brothers playing together. Doesn't happen very often, but when they do, it's always a good sound. I love this track. You just imagine the two of them really cranking it out. What a great thing. And of course, Paul Raymond's keyboards just sound brilliant. Up next is now a track called End of an Era. Bass is on a guy called Elliot Dean Rubinson. Now he's he's a session musician, but he has got a guitar factory type thing. On drums, Carmine Appice, depending on how you say it. On guitars, Michael. On the Hammond organ, the legendary Don Airey. Vocals, Michael Voss. What a great track. The Carmine's drumming's brilliant on this. It's just reminds me of some of that sort of melodic Halloween stuff. The Hammond organ is rich from Don. Great track. Next track is Miss Claustrophobia. Pete Way, Herman, Michael. Keyboards, Wayne Finley. His ever-present keyboard player from MSG, and Michael Voss. I love Pete Way's bass line on this. And it's a great vocal for Michael. Such a very underrated singer. Pity he really didn't hit the big time, because he's got a great voice. Up next, With You. Back to the Scorpions UFO connection. Pete Way, Herman Rebel, Michael Schenker, Paul Raymond, Rudolf Schenker, and Michael Voss. Eerie sort of track. It's got a lovely melodic sound to it. Great vocal for Michael Voss. The guitar work is lovely from the Schenker brothers. Full stop. What a track. Then we have a track called Before the Devil Knows You're Dead. Now this has got Elliot Dean Rubinson on the bass. Drums, Brian Tichy. Now Brian Tichy's played with lots of people, but more he did play with Whitesnake for a while. Guitar, Michael, and keyboards, Wayne Finley. And the vocals this time is Doogie White. My favourite track on here. It's just, Wayne's keyboards are brilliant, and they just sort of intermingle some great drumming from Brian Tichy. Brilliant track. Up next is a track called Storming In. Interesting lineup again. Chris Glenn, who's played with MSG and lots of other people, on drums. From Manfred Mann's Earth Band, The Firm, and AC/DC, Mr. Chris Slade, and Uriah Heep, and and Michael Schenker and Michael Voss. A more gentle track. Great bass line from Chris Glenn. Chris, you see the gentler side of Chris Slade's drumming on this. Really good. Great vocal from Michael Voss. Scene of Crime is the next track. Pete Way, Herman on the drums, Michael, Wayne and Michael Voss. There's even some flute in this. Now Michael, apart from playing the guitar, he can play the flute. Remember, he played on the track Aubrey a long time ago. It's a nice track. It's a nice gentle sort of track as well. Saturday Night comes next. It's just Pete Way, Herman Rebel, Michael Schenker and Michael Voss. Lots of atmosphere on. It sounds live. The guitar solo is absolutely killer on this. Then we have Lovers Symphony. Pete Way again. Herman on the drums as ever. Guitars Michael, keyboards Wayne Finley and Robin McCauley on the vocals. It's probably one of the most favourite tracks that Robin and Michael did. I mean, when they were doing their thing in the 80s, it was all smoothest. And this is great because Robin sounds great on this. It's a great track, and if you'd have had the same production on this as you did on the 80s stuff, I think them albums would be a lot better, but that's just my personal opinion. Then we get Speed. It's Chris Glenn on the bass, Chris Slade on the drums, guitars Michael and Michael Voss again. Another fabulous track, my second favourite track on here. The bass line from Chris Glenn is top draw. Some great rocking drumming this time from Chris on the drums, that real powerful sound that he developed. Great guitar work for Michael, lots of shredding and all sorts. And then we have another version of How Long. It's the Three Generations guitar battle version. And it's Michael on all the guitars, Chris Glenn on the bass, Chris Slade on drums, vocals. Not much difference, but it's just there. Bit different, bit more. It's got a bit more grunt, I'd say. Okay, this is a brilliant album. This is my favourite because it's got so many great musicians on here. It's the songs are just powerful. The Scorpion and UFO. It's just a perfect sort of album for Michael. Playing with a lot of people that he's played with before. Sounds like they had a lot of fun making this, so I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 8.5. So there we go. Next week is part 8, and it's another sort of super group that Michael put together. It's called Michael Schenker's Fest. Okay, that's all for this part 7. So coming up next is a retro ranking, and it is probably one of my favourite punk bands. I'm really getting back into punk, and this is another great band to come out of Northern Ireland. And it's Stiff Little Fingers, so I'll be picking my favourite tracks by Stiff Little Fingers. So join me for that. Bye for now.